Yeah, don't, yeah. Then please don't say bye.
Yeah, I had a text once and I was playing with them, just going back and forth. My wife's like, would you please stop? Yeah, he came to me. That's kind of what I figured.
I'll be quick.
I still have family members call. I got this on. Oh, no.
Oh, that'll drive me crazy.
Read it, get rid of it. It's not,
You can do it, that's fine. Just don't fucking do that.
or, the IRS.
Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Call this meeting to order. We do not have any minutes to approve. They've not been generated yet since our meeting was late yesterday. They will be ready for next month's packet to take a look at then. Having no old business, we might as well jump right into things. My pleasure to introduce Hamilton Baden and Bridget Kelly, and they're here to tell us about their U-Turn Health Lenawee Recovery and Reentry Initiative.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody, for having us. I'm pretty loud, so I don't know if you even want me standing in front of that microphone. And Francine has met me outside for a minute. Luckily, I talk very fast. Is the lady clicking the slides, Jen?
Yeah.
Jen, you're gonna not like me because we're gonna click fast. So let's go ahead and click. Next slide.
Is the mic on, by the way?
Yes, it is.
Okay, because it's being live streamed too, so.
Okay, cool. So you can see today's agenda. Glenn, sorry, click the next slide too, please. We're gonna just go fast. Those are some of our current customers. We work in the justice involved around the country. We click the next slide. And then our biggest difference is our approach. We'll get to that. Click the next slide if you don't mind. We wanted to look at the county numbers. I think you guys probably know all this information. We would not be standing here if there wasn't an epidemic going on in this country. So I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this. We know that individuals getting out of jail in Lenawee County are 10 times more likely to overdose as compared to the general population. 85% of those needing treatment actually don't get it. And then the drug poisoning rate is 4 times higher for those individuals getting out here in the county as those that are not. So if you'll go to the next slide. This is really the most important part of this. And so let me tell you my personal story. I'm an individual that grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, in what I call an ideal middle-class life. Mom and dad were married for 53 years. I was a smart kid. I had a full academic scholarship to the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina. I struggled with mental health as a kid. Who can guess in this room what I got diagnosed with? Come on, you guys. There you go. Good guess. I figured out after my college career that drinking made me feel much better and really helped with the ADD. So I ran with that. Became very successful, ran a business that we took from 25 million to 1.65 billion. The entire time I did that, I was in active addiction from alcohol and drugs. At 42 years of age, I finally raised my hand. I got sober. And I tell everybody this, I tell you that story because you'll know where the passion comes from. But number two, I got sober the traditional way. And I want to make this very clear for everyone in the room. The traditional approach works. The problem is it leaves us with 3 very big gaps. I was talking to Francine. It's very interesting that you called this committee Bridging the Gaps, because that's why we created U-Turn Health. Here are the 3 gaps. Number 1, 90% of people that struggle with behavioral health in this country will never raise their hand, ask for help, and do clinically what we tell them to do. That is a fact. When you look at substance use disorder, it's actually 95%. And the real reason is, guys, there's lots of reasons, so don't get me wrong, but the most overwhelming reason, it is very black and white. It is the scariest thing you will ever do in your life. The women in the room are gonna get very mad at me when I say this, but if I walked up to my wife tonight and said, babe, you're looking a little fat, I think you need to start working out, that's not gonna go over very well, right? But what is the difference between you coming to me and saying, Hamilton, you're an addict, you need to quit? Number 1. Number 2 is the family. We're always trying to fix me, which we should fix me. But my wife and my kids were losing their mind for years and didn't know why. I never beat my wife. I never cheated on my wife. I was a good husband. I was a good father. But addiction cripples the family. They need to be supported as well. And we know if we support the family, the individual has a much better chance of making it. And the third and final gap, and to me, the largest, is engagement or adherence. I'll give you a comparison. In diabetes in this country, it's 6 months. Once you're diagnosed, 90% of patients are eating better or taking insulin. With behavioral health at 6 months, about 11% of people that start engaging in positive change are still committed 6 months later. I just told Francine this. If we don't close these 3 gaps, you guys can pay for 7 million treatment centers in this county alone, and you will never change these 3 gaps. Next slide, please. Very short story. We created U-Turn Health to close those 3 gaps. That's all we're doing. We are not doing therapy. Sheriff, I'm not trying to figure out what happened to you at 4 years of age with your dad. That is a clinician's job. I'm trying to get you to start talking about it, getting engaged with positive change, and keep moving forward. Next slide, please. So there's 2 ways we do this. We actually do this on the commercial side. So we sell this to big companies like Costco, where they make this available for all their employees. We also do it in Justice Involved. So in the Justice Involved community, the first thing that we do, we created a technology platform. The way I always describe it, Netflix or TikTok for behavioral health. It's actually like Netflix and TikTok got married and had a baby. That's kind of what it's like. We put this on the tablets in the jail. So we work with the tablet company so that every inmate, sorry if you don't call them inmates, everybody has a different word, people, presentations, Justice Involved, everyone gets access to the content. We also make this available for the family members on the outside. We do not dictate family. The individual tells us who their family is, they get it. The second thing, you can see some of the workbooks we brought in. We have a workbook form for them to follow along. U-Turn, the technology, is the largest collection of counselor-led evidence-based videos on the planet. This is not Nancy Reagan just say no, no offense, that shit does not work. This is a very authentic look at this, getting people educated, giving them hope advice from the journey of others, and start to change behaviors. The second thing that we do, if you go to the next slide, is we have created the nation's largest and, in our opinion, only evidence-based peer support program. So there are a lot of people in this country that do peer support, and I will tell you, they mean well. Everyone is doing their very best. I grew up in a very clinical background. No one has ever professionalized this. No one has ever studied it. We did that. So 13 years ago, my co-founder, who's the founder of Faces of Voices of Recovery in Greenville, South Carolina, created a very specific model. There is a mental health leader in this room. Is it Monica? Is it somebody in this room? Because we read theirs. Who is it that runs mental health in here? Is there somebody?
I have a mental health course.
You have a mental health course. Sorry, on the thing, there was something about mental health. There is a mental health program called Assertive Community Treatment. This is a takeoff on that. And let me just tell you the paradigm shift. For 70 years, the way we've treated addiction in this country is we go to the person that struggles, we tell them we love them, we're here to support them, and we give them all the options. It's the same thing with reentry. You're getting ready to leave the jail. We say, Hamilton, you've paid your debt to society. Here's some housing programs. Here's job programs. You've got to get Medicaid reinstated. And then who do we leave the responsibility for engagement up to? We leave it up to the individual, right? So let's just think about this very rationally. If you are struggling with mental health or addiction, we can argue whether it's a brain disease, but you cannot argue with the fact is 100% of the people that have that disease have this thing in their brain called irrational thinking. So we're going to the person that's been diagnosed with something that causes irrational thinking and say, we want you to be responsible. With ACE, what we've done is we flip that model on its head. If you refer someone to us or they're engaged with U-Turn, their responsibility for engagement falls equally on us. So God forbid the sheriff is addicted, we put him in a program. If he doesn't stay committed, if he doesn't stay engaged, it is my responsibility to figure out how to get him moving forward. And I don't think we put this in here. We did a clinical trial on this model back in 2019 in South Carolina with Prisma Health and University of South Carolina School of Medicine and Clemson University. The trial was so successful, it was picked up by the National Institute of Drug Abuse. They just did a 3-site clinical trial in 3 parts of the country. And basically what the model shows is if treatment as usual, really good treatment as usual, at 6 months, about 11% of the participants are still adherent to their treatments plan. If you add U-Turn Health 6 months later, 89% are not still talking to us. That's great, they are. But more importantly, they are also still following their treatment plan. And that's the beauty of this. We will do whatever it takes. People ask me all the time, how do you help people that don't want help? It's very simple. You don't. And I hate to say that. That 90% of people that won't raise their hand, ask for help, and do what we tell them to do, it does not mean that they don't want help. They don't want to be pointed at and tell them what to do and then be responsible for it. So that's very quickly the model that we use. I'm going to turn it over to Bridget because she's smarter than me and she basically runs everything, and I'll let her walk through the rest of this and how we could implement.
God, now I'm blushing. Okay. Next slide, please. We've already talked about the family, so we can go to the next slide, but I'll tell you is probably anywhere between 20 and 30% of the individuals that we'll serve will be family. It will all depend with how we work with your county in particular, programs you already have in place, and how easy it is to reach family members. What you see up here is kind of what the entree into everything that we do. So I'm going to do this a little backwards. I'm going to show you what the end result looks like, and then I'm going to tell you how we get there. So our goal is, if the member or the participant or the inmate or the justice involved is standing in the middle, is to kind of create this collaborative care model where we have a really strong referral loop. So Sheriff, we would need to work with your staff to understand what's currently in the jail, who would help send us referrals, what programs do you have that are currently running that both we could refer to and that could refer to us. So if you look at some of the fancy words out there, our goal is to take that person in and say, hey, what do you need help with? What does it look like? Let me be a friend, let me be a confidant, but also let me be a resource broker to you. So let's set short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals of what this is going to look like. And so we'll refer them to clinical care. We'll refer them to other community resources. We may work with them inside the walls to say, what type of case management could you work with while you're still there? We'll look at housing and education and anything else that you guys may implement as a part of this opioid grant that we could utilize for these individuals when they are both inside the walls and outside the walls. Our coaches will reinforce those. We'll create a whole resource list of what that can look like. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So a couple of success stories. I really did do this backwards. I'm going to tell you all the good stuff, and then I'm going to tell you how we do it. So let's talk a little bit about recidivism. So as we look at why is our program, how does our program work and why is it important? Decreasing recidivism, right? Part of the goal here is how do we get people to not only stay out of jail, but keep them out of jail. So we did a 2-year study with the GEO group. Basically, over year 1, we decreased recidivism 50%, and over 2 years with the same group, we decreased recidivism 40%. So what that looked like was exactly what I just said. They had a case management program through GEO. We layered a peer coach on top. We set goals with the individuals. We followed them for anywhere between 1 month and 12 months and beyond. And really, we said, what are you trying to accomplish and how do we get you there? And what does it look like to keep you out of jail? Next slide, please. The second one is we worked with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, the BOP, on a national basis, and we collected some outcomes from the participants. Out of 520 respondents, 93% of those who worked with U-Turn was still adherent to their treatment. 79, almost 80% had no relapse in the prior 90 days, and 90% were either actively seeking employment or employed. To me, those are some pretty amazing numbers. Next slide, please. So how do we work together? So let's say today you said this presentation has been so good, Bridget, we're going to start right now. Next slide, please. So the way that this will work, and some of this may look familiar to you because it was in the submission, is it doesn't take long to get U-Turn started, but what's most important is making sure that we do it right. Because if we're going to put something in place, we want to make sure that it's effective, right? So the first 2 months is really kind of a get to know you, but also figuring out some of the technology. If I have seen anything, as much as technology works for us, sometimes it doesn't. And so if we can figure out how to iron those things out up front, that's wonderful. When we look at the program that Hamilton talked about, if we think about it in 3 buckets, the first is the technology. So you can think of this as video platform, video content. This could be served both inside the walls and outside the walls. If you tell me we have no tablets or we don't want to serve it inside the walls, that's okay. I have reasons why I think we should, because we can build some rapport. We can educate people before they get out. We can help with reentry planning, but we can also do it all just on reentry. So the first one is that technology. So they're learning about reentry planning. They're learning about job readiness. We have one on criminogenic thinking. They can watch all of those courses. So we would get those set up on the tablet, whoever you guys work with, either through a secondary partner like Adovo or in an upload into your system, whatever that may look like. The second thing that we'll do is create a referral system. So to me, this is the most important. There are things that we can do on site, but most of this is a digital program. So I would come to you and say, who in the jail can I work with to get referrals to U-Turn Health? Another way we do this is, and I'm sorry I only brought 3 of them, but I carried them in my carry-on from Boston today, is the workbooks. So we try to hand the workbooks out to almost every inmate that is within the county. And what we do is we slide a letter in there with a referral form, and we say, if you're interested in learning more about U-Turn, go and see, you know, this deputy chief, this case manager, whatever it may be within the jail. And so that's another way that we get people to us. That second bucket and what we're trying to get people to us from the content, being the video and the workbooks, is the peer coaching. So the peer coaching, and you can see sort of the months that we're rolling this out, right? So months 1 and 2, we're integrating with the systems, we're integrating with the jail systems, and we're looking at how we create that referral system for coaching. Months 3 through 6, we're giving out the workbooks, we're getting referrals actually in for people who want peer coaching. On that form, they can also refer their family members. And then we're looking at how we can start calls. So let's say Monica is within the jail and she fills out the referral form. Our peers can start to schedule calls inside the walls to help with those their reentry plans before they even leave. And then every month thereon after, it's really creating that fine-tuned machine and getting sort of the wheels going and keeping it going. So what we found is once we distribute the first batch of workbooks, you know, Francine sees a workbook or Terry sees a workbook, and all of a sudden he's like, hey, where's my workbook, right? And it creates some of that FOMO within the system itself. And then that third bucket, so we've got the educational content and the workbooks, we've got the peer-to-peer support, both inside the walls. So they fill out a referral form, we get going inside the walls. Monica leaves, we stay with her for up to 6 months post release. Monica may stay with us for 6 months. Judge Morgan may stay with us for 2 months. It's not a perfect science. Our goal is to try to keep people between 3 and 6 months within the program.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. Guys, we put this implementation timeline together based on the RFP. We can speed this up. A lot of this we can do before we even get started. So I just want to let you know, everything that we do is customizable based on what the county's needs are. So keep going.
And then the third component is that family programming. So when they fill out the referral form, they can put a family member on there. They can say whether or not we can reach out to them. They can also put an emergency contact, and we could work with you to figure out if that makes sense or not within your system.
And I just want to
Next
say
slide.
one more thing. I'm sure this will come up in the questions. We did this so quickly. We can't get really into the weeds, but Monica, sorry, we're picking on you. Monica is a veteran from the Navy who has a heroin addiction, who stole a car, and she's in the county jail. We're going to give her another Monica that was a veteran of armed services, because look, I went to the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina. If she's a veteran, we still don't speak the same language. She needs someone that's like her. If she was a professional on the outside. The coolest part about this, Monica's husband, we're going to give him another husband who had a wife that dealt with the same thing. So we're attacking this from both angles. And it is so important to explain that. So as someone that's been dependent on opioids before, if Monica is on opioids and we're talking about it and she goes to see a doctor, let's be honest, Monica, you're probably a lovely person. You are not going to tell them the truth. If you're talking to me and I'm like, hey, do you count your pills every month before you run out? You're like, holy shit, yeah, I do. You will, it is the power of the lived experience that brings this together along with the program. So I just wanted to point that out. Keep going.
Yeah, next. So these are some of the phases of coaching. Listen, the goal here, Hamilton just talked to it, is keep people engaged, right? And so there's engagement, retention, and then transition for long-term planning, which we already talked about. Next slide, please. So these are some of the things that we'll track. How many people have come to us? How many people have we done inside and outside the walls coaching for? What's the duration of those? Are we doing it over phone? Are we doing it over FaceTime? What do the family metrics look like? How many people are we sending to outside resources, community resources, Bridging the Gap subcommittee resources? How many reentry plans have we done? How many hours of service have we provided? And then we measure things like, we use the brief resilience scale to collect scores. What we usually see what that is, they enter, they say everything's great, then they dip, then they go back up again. We look at social determinants of health, especially in rural areas, as a virtual solution. We've had a lot of success. And then we look at other things like maybe milestone and success stories. Next slide. We give monthly reporting, quarterly reporting, and annual reporting. I promise you, you will always know where we stand. To me, I am the kind of person, and I would be working directly on the account. I want to know how we're doing both on a short-term basis, midterm, and long-term. And I feel like if we're having constant conversations, we can pivot and make changes to make this better, faster, stronger, smarter. Some of the things that we do, we have business cards, we have flyers, we have posters, we've got the workbooks. We will come in and facilitate groups on a quarterly basis if it's something that makes sense to you and your team. We've got handouts, you name it. When we get together with you, I've got a whole checklist that we'll run through to talk about what will be most effective based on the current setup of the jail in the county and based on what we can offer and how do they come together. Next slide, please. We already talked about the referral form, but this is just an example so that you can see what we asked for. This is for what Hamilton talked about. How do we connect people with someone who has similar lived experience as the person that they're going to get together with? And the reason we do that is we know we'll see better success rates. Two things I want to point out on this when we start coaching. If it's inside the walls, we like to have some autonomy where we can call them and they can call us. We typically create a schedule with the jail that makes the most sense. The second thing I'll say, though, is we like to connect 24 to 48 hours post-release. And this is because if I tell Francine, hey, I got you, I got to make sure I got her, right? Both during our conversations inside the walls and immediately following release. And we know trust is hard to build in this population. So we need to make sure that when we've built that trust, that we keep it after they leave. Next slide, please. So I've put the budget up here, all of what we've talked through. So the content was that bucket one, and you can see the amount there. The workbooks and marketing materials, that accounts for all of the shipping and workbooks and flyers and business cards, and you name it, we'll do it. The peer support coaching, we've accounted for 240 months of coaching. I want to talk a little bit about this because we get a lot of questions on this typically. There's no easy way to break this down because, as I said, Judge Morgan may use it for 2 months and Monica may use it for 8, right? We have sort of a timeline we like to see people in because we know the results they'll get. But the reality is sometimes Judge Morgan feels like he only needs us for 2 months, right? And so how we break it down is we give a bucket of months of coaching. So if everybody in here, for example, or all 8 of you use 10 months of coaching, that would take away 80 months. But so basically then would have the additional, 180 months to work with or whatever, 160 months to work with. So I want you to understand that we're trying to meet people where they're at. And in doing so, some people will need the program for longer and some for shorter. So it's kind of like a bank of coaching that you can pull down
I want to
from.
add one thing real quick. Kevin, how much time do we have before questions? Like 2 minutes?
About 1 minute, yeah.
1 minute. All right, very quick, because we're done. Monthly coaching. The reason we charge on a monthly basis, this is very important. In the traditional world, Monica's struggling. We go to Monica, we say, we're here to help, blah, 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 blah. We give her the option, or we reach out to her. She will not respond to us. We do everything on a monthly basis because Monica gets referred to us. We text her, we call her. She's not going to answer. That is very typical. We're not going to give up. We're going to keep reaching out to her. If all of a sudden we realize that Monica actually likes the Detroit Tigers or the Detroit Lions, then maybe we start talking to her about that. But we are going to continue to chase her for that month. There will be a moment of vulnerability in that month where she will actually answer the phone or text. It happens all the time. So everything we do on a monthly basis, and if you do the math, what is it, 250 a month that we've got in there, basically?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
basically what we're saying is instead of going to a behavioral health session with a therapist that costs $100 or $150 or $200, for $250 a month, we're going to take care of Monica for that entire month, whether it's 1,000 phone calls or not, and her family. Even if we have 3 or 4 coaches for that entire family, that is only considered 1 unit and it's only 1 month of coaching. Very important to point out. Next slide, please.
You are out of time.
That's it.
Yep.
Fire away.
All right, folks, we've heard a lot. Questions? Sheriff?
Do you have any current clients in Michigan
We
in
do not have-
jails?
We have had clients here, so we did this for the Federal Bureau of Prisons for 2 years. They were set to renew it it was the first time they ever did this. So everyone in a reentry house, which is about 15,000 individuals in the EOP, got unlimited access to U-turn. And yes, we had reentry homes in Michigan that used that. When the new administration came in, and now that we're not even funded right now, they paused it. And once it gets funded, they will pick it back up. So we do not work with any specific counties in Michigan, except you guys would be first.
Can I expound? on
Sure,
this a little bit?
absolutely.
So you use the jail tablets in the jail. If there's a interface needed or if the content can't be loaded, who pays for that?
Who
We
do you
take
u-
care of it all. We work with every tablet manufacturer. They're a pain in the butt, but we work with them all. Most tablet manufacturers use a learning management system called Adobo. If your jail has that, we call them today and tell them, and they flip a switch and it's gone.
Who do you-
We have never found a tablet company that we can't load the content.
Who do you use?
GTL.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Buy a pass now. We work
Yeah.
with them. They have
Per-
content.
And Adobo loads on there.
Adobo's already.
Okay.
And I did in the budget account for some if we needed like to use any budget.
We have to
inside
pay
of
them.
it.
That's our responsibility, but we put everything.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
sir.
Other questions? Judge Morgan.
When I look through all this and you say with the tablets and whatnot, I just want to make sure, is the interactions with the individuals and the families, is this a personal interaction or is this an online interaction? Is this, how exactly
Yeah,
are you?
good question. I was gonna address that when we were talking, but so much to cover. We call this a virtual program. So the technology on the tablets is one way. That is for them to go and watch basically on their own video content, go to the workbooks, do that stuff. If they get enrolled in the larger coaching program, then we actually start coaching them through the tablets. When they leave, this is all done through phone, through text, through FaceTime, as long as they have a phone. Believe it or not, that was my biggest concern with the BOP. We have never found someone that we haven't been able to get them a phone or contact them through a phone. So when I say virtual, it is a human. This is not AI. We have human to human contact. And to be quite frank, we actually started this as a nonprofit about 13 years ago. And when we first did it, it was all face-to-face interaction. This is way before COVID. And within 6 months, every participant said, hey, can you just text or call me? And the reason that is so important is because our coaching program, we always say it's in the moment. So I got to pick on somebody else. Sarah, let's say Sarah's trying to control her drinking or stop drinking. So she goes to a therapist every Wednesday. And she does it religiously. She shows up every Wednesday. And then Friday night, I didn't say your name? Rana's getting married and you're invited to her wedding and she's gonna have an open bar. Can that therapist help her that night? Not a chance in hell. And if you call the therapist, she's not gonna answer you. Now, if you're enrolled in U-turn, Sarah, your coach is gonna text you and say, I know you're going to the wedding, take a Coke, put it in an alcohol-looking glass, put a straw in a lime, no one will know. I'll call you 30 minutes in and check on you and seeing how you're doing. So the virtual access makes it much, much more accessible. So I hope that answers your question. The technology is really the part that gets people engaged because now they're starting to see a very authentic, real look at this. It's not, you have to quit. Yeah, we want you to quit, but the likelihood that you're just gonna say, sure, I'll quit today, that's very unrealistic. So it's the magic that gets them engaged, and then those that need it get that much deeper, more intense reentry and virtual behavioral health program. Yes, sir.
Terry, did you have a question?
Well, I think someone answered, but, and this may be somewhat preposterous, but what if all the Monicas don't want help? What do you do?
If
And
not-
nobody reaches out.
I don't know how to say it, except that's not how, and literally, the 90% of people that say they don't want help, sir, in all due respect, I have never met a person that doesn't really want to.
But as I understand your program, they're not gonna become involved until they submit a referral to you.
Now, Terry, let me give you an example. You don't have to agree to use U-turn now. The sheriff or his team knows that you keep coming back to jail because you're a heroin addict and you keep leaving on Suboxone and immediately going and using heroin again, and you end up back. He refers you to me. So I'm gonna reach out to you, Terry, and I'm gonna say, hey, Terry, I'm a dude that struggled. I've been in jail. I had 3 DUIs. I dealt with this same shit. Excuse my language, but I'm gonna be very real with you. And through that, I'm gonna find out what you like to do. You said you're a third generation person here. Like, do you like sports? I'll just leave that. Do you like sports?
Played sports and refereed for 33
You're
years.
a referee. I want to talk to you about that. And you like, hey, I'm not gonna quit. I'm gonna still use heroin. I'm gonna say, I don't give a shit. If you want to use heroin, use heroin. I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here to talk about your refereeing career. Will you talk to me now?
Probably.
Yeah, you will. You will talk to me. Through that relationship, there's a very scientific approach, and I'm sure Francine knows this. It's called motivational interviewing and positive psychology. You will end up talking about alcohol and heroin. We will get you there because you will trust me. The likelihood that you're just gonna walk up to the sheriff and say, Sheriff, today I decided to quit using heroin, that's not going to happen. So it's a different approach. I have to engage you first. Once I engage you, I can move you through the process. And you will agree that you need help with something. Maybe it's not treat. People change in a wide variety of ways. Like, we all know somebody that used to drink too much or party too much, and they got into CrossFit, religion, or they got married and they changed the way they drink, right? We all know someone like that. But in the recovery world, that person is not, we don't celebrate that. We should. And so it's very much the way that we approach this, and Francine and I were meeting earlier. It is, I'm going to meet you wherever you are. I don't care if you don't want to quit yet. We can get you there, but we have to start somewhere first. That's the deal.
And I think some of the logistics of what you just said, yes, we want them to fill out the referral form. If they do it themselves, great. But if the sheriff's team fills out the referral form, if let's say there's a certain pod that you feel like makes the most sense to start this with, that's okay too.
We also have instances where probation says, as part of your probation, you have to work. Judge, you talked about your mental health court. We work with drug courts. As part of your sentence with this, we've actually done diversion. There, I'm not your name, so I don't keep picking on you. I'm sorry, you're not an alcoholic. You're probably gonna be DUI. But let's say you got a DUI. Instead of locking him up in jail for 30 days, instead of putting an interlock device on his car where he can still smoke pot and drive his car, he just can't drink, I want to enroll him in youth health. So we're actually helping him get to where he doesn't end up back in jail. So that's how it's.
Do you have competing providers that work in the same space?
So that's a really, really loaded question. I do not think there is anyone in this space doing what we are doing, the level that we are doing. Now, you know what an EAP is, an employee assistance program? If any of you guys ever work for big companies, that 800 number you call when you and your wife are fighting, that 1% of people use, the reason they don't use it is because it's clinical. When you call into that number, you have to be diagnosed with something. So no, there is no competition that of what we are doing on a grand scale. There are a lot of nonprofit regionally in places that do something similar, but the reason we created it is because no one had evidence and an actual program that can be replicated. So on that scale, no, but yes, there are people that, and we can teach people to do this. This is not about making money for us. As you can tell, I run another healthcare company. This is our life's passion to help the people that are not getting the help today.
Tim?
Can you expand a little bit on the recovery coach position? Because in Michigan, recovery coaches are people in recovery and they go through a course for 6 weeks. Yeah.
Every coach that we have is licensed in the state they reside in. Coaching you can do across state lines, so that's good. So if Sheriff decides to be a coach for us, wherever he lives, he's gonna get licensed in that state. We will help him get the license. Then we make him also get the national, which is through NADAC. We are our own teaching institute, so we can train them and get them that license. Then we make him go through an additional 30 hours every year of assertive community engagement. And then if you're a family coach, there's another 30-hour track that we go. Family recovery is hard to define because we've had people that have loved ones that have died. We have people that have loved ones that have lived through this. So it's kind of hard to explain what family recovery is, but there are different tracks and everyone goes through that. Our peers also report to clinicians. A lot of places have peers report to peers. We disagree with that because we are referring for clinical help. If Terry, good example, you and I start talking about you being a referee and you finally say, yeah, I definitely drink too much. My wife is pissed off at me, or I'm taking opioids and I can't stop taking them. I'm gonna get you to clinical help. So we have a referral list across the country and we'll work with you to find the best. We're gonna make sure you not only get there, but you keep going back. So we're gonna stay with you through that whole life. So I hope that.
Real quick, so do you have like a assessment tool or you just talking to somebody is assessment tool?
Great question. We, both, but we do administer them verbally. So for the BRS, it's typically a 6-question scale that someone would do as a self-assessment. Our coaches are trained to do it over the phone and then to report based on that score for the BRS.
So do you assess everyone in the jail or do you just assess people that have been identified as someone who may need?
We assess people that have been identified, but that's why the technology, the workbooks, and us coming in and talking is so important. Because a lot of people, in the commercial space, you know what the number one thing that people sign up for U-Turn Health for? Stress. Why do we do that? Because it's cool to be stressed out, right? We all work 80 hours a week, we have committee meetings, we're doing all this stuff. And I can wear my stress as a badge of honor, but if I'm addicted to crystal meth, I'm not raising my hand and telling you about that. So people will enroll under the fact they're stressed, and as soon as we get them with someone like them that's lived through this, they say, yeah, I'm drinking 12 beers a night because I'm so stressed out. Or I've been taking opioids and I can't get my prescription refilled. So and we can talk more about it, we don't have enough time right now, but we integrate with you to find the right people. And the technology and the talks and the things we do help weed them out as much.
I think what we could look into, if you were like, we want to assess everyone, we could look into it. I know we can put forms on Edovo. I'm not sure how effective it would be then if they don't sign up for the program and stuff. But what I was gonna say is, if we wanted to try it, that's something we'd be open to, because then we could say to you, what I've found though is a lot of the people who come to us off of the technology, they've watched like Why U-Turn Health, and then they typically just fill out the referral form.
Yeah, assessments are hard. I used to go to the doctor all the time, and she said, yeah, the reason you're sick, and you're drinking too much, I fired the doctor. And I lied to her, said I wasn't drinking that much. Because I knew where it was gonna lead. You see what I'm saying?
So, I'm sorry, you mentioned you're not in Michigan. So where's the closest county jail that you are in?
The closest county, you guys, I would have to go back and look. We've done some work. I think we've done some work in Illinois. We have a number of big sheriff departments in Massachusetts. We'll get you a list of where they are. But
Yeah.
again, we have worked in Michigan, but not specifically with the county. We can get you a list. of
Prisons and jails are two different things.
And all different sizes too.
Understood.
Yeah, from like 80-person all the way up to like 3,500. We've worked in all different size counties.
We are at over our 30 minutes, but if there's any last questions. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you, Sarah. Oh, go ahead. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
I was just wondering about the family involvement, what that looks like. Just if you can briefly mention that.
Yeah, so every county does this different. So I'll give you 2 examples. We have one county in Arizona that says we do not want any family. And they say if they want to call in, we will give some information in the waiting rooms, but we are not going to be aggressively seeking family support. That's how they choose to run it. We have another county in Massachusetts where they literally do webinars for the family. They connect us with the family. They have a whole family campaign. So we could be as aggressive or as not aggressive as you want us to be in that realm. I feel like part of this is when we get together with the jail saying, tell me what you have now and how can I put those pieces together?
Sarah, do you want specific? Let me give you an example. When I went to treatment, my wife, the reason I went to treatment is because my wife left. She was done. I went to treatment, but my wife didn't physically leave. So when I came back, they had a great family program. My wife never showed up. When I came back, we lived together for 5 months in literal hell. She was pissed off that I had left and gone to yoga for 6 weeks while she's running the family and everything else. And now everybody's thinking I'm a hero. So after 5 months, I ended up leaving and splitting with her. And then all of a sudden she goes, oh shit. And we ended up getting back together, never been happier, never been more in love. When I went to treatment, if we had given her another wife that had a husband like me that she had struggled with, she would have probably bitched about me for the first 2 weeks, but that's okay. That's what the coach is there for. Someone to go through this journey with you who's already been through it, because the family feels guilty. I'm sure my wife was like, I feel horrible that I'm leaving him. He has a disease, but I don't want to live this way anymore. And when she knows it's okay from another person that's been there, now we can get her educated, understand what's going on with Hamilton. I've got a much better chance of making it when I get out. Does that make sense? That's kind of the way it works.
Yes, thank you.
And I'll build on it just one piece. We just put together a whole reentry plan for a father who was worried about what his son's triggers would be post-release. So we've got a reentry plan for the son, and then we've got a reentry plan for the father. And now the father has a coach he can call if things spiral or aren't going really the way that was planned.
Nice. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, yes, Judge Morgan.
Just, I know you've referenced and what you listed as who you're working with are jails or prisons or whatnot like that. Is the prison just the point of contact, or are you, we're like any other county. There's a lot of individuals that hopefully they're not in jail.
Right.
So do we also have references outside of the jail system?
We can absolutely get that 100%. Yeah, we do. We actually just signed a contract. Don't tell anybody, but we just signed a contract with Aetna that went live on October 1st. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. I don't care. I'm just kidding. Yes, we just went live with a pilot with Aetna on October 1st. That will run through the end of this year and on January 1st. They basically created a new substance use disorder program that everyone in that program starts with U-Turn Health. So yes, we have commercial clients. We do this outside of the jails as well, all the time. We can get you all that.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, folks. That is the end of our time. Thank you for coming.
Nice to meet him.
Yep.
Richard Kelly, are you a Notre Dame fan?
Yeah, how'd you know? Yeah.
I'm an Irish Catholic myself, two priests. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah. He's a good man.
Before our committee rushes off, we got a few minutes that I would like to explore a couple questions with you guys. One of the things that, I'll give this a minute. One of the larger themes that we keep hearing is this idea of marketing, and Terry and I were talking about this today. We keep hearing there's a number of our existing entities that have more capacity to be doing things for more people if there was more awareness. And I know we have a process, but I would like to think, what are your thoughts if we moved the marketing proposals to the front burner? Because those will change over time too, as we bring different programs on board. For instance, this program just discussed here maybe doesn't need much marketing if it's based in the jails and has another mechanism to feed people into it. But we heard from Parkside yesterday, they have more bandwidth. There's other entities having more bandwidth. And I think, is that something we could, Francine, do we have any other marketing proposals coming forward? Okay, but I'd just like your thoughts on that. I mean, this is just brainstorming now. I don't, I'm not in charge, but Sarah, your thoughts?
I hope this is okay to say, but I did have a peer coach in my Jackson office this week. He was bringing me over some pamphlets or guides for services in the Jackson area. And so I took the opportunity to ask him if you were part of a committee that was presented with all kinds of things to help people with substance use disorder, mental health issues. What do you think is one of the most important things for people that are having trouble with those situations? And I gave him some examples, group therapy, peer coaching, marketing, because maybe sometimes people don't know where the help is and what the help is, what's available to them. And he told me, that he believed that marketing, or because a lot of people don't know how or where to start, he did tell me that he felt that was very important. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Other thoughts? Not being definitive, but I'm just like, go
Yeah,
ahead, Tim.
I guess a lot of thoughts about this because the substance use prevention program used to exist. Still does. It's been reformulated some, but they used to have a contract with WLEN to provide a lot of information. And because the funding for that dried up, it kind of fell away. So WLEN was quite useful in doing that. I think if we do this, we have to look at communications in different ways because that's a limited audience that's not gonna touch all the people that really do need the services provided to them.
And I want to go back to Sarah. You said, I hope this is okay to ask. I have very strict rules on that here. Ask whatever is on your mind. And I was telling the sheriff, we're at some point, we're going to be evaluating publicly specific proposals, some from people here in our community. And we're going to have difficult public discussions about these things because that's our job. We'll always be professional about it, but the stakes are too high to, say, well, we shouldn't ask that out loud. No, we will ask that out loud here with my full support for what that's worth. Francine, I know I really put you on the spot with that question, but did you stumble across another marketing?
There's some telehealth and some marketing that, but not specific. Trellis is marketing,
Okay,
one that,
how far out are they?
November, they rescheduled.
Okay. Well, when we keep hearing this theme that there's services available now that people aren't aware of, I thought maybe we want to expedite that part. Any other thoughts on that? Judge Morgan?
Well, I think that's correct. There are services out there that people aren't aware of, but we also run into the problem as this last presentation presented. You have like 90% of the people that aren't going to raise their hands. So even if they knew it was out there, there has to be a massive understanding that it has to be in confidence. If somebody raises their hand, he kept saying the sheriff. So if the sheriff needed something,
Yeah, apparently,
yeah.
You got that look.
and Sarah.
But the long and the short, if the sheriff thought if I raise my hand, it's going to be all over the place and my family and, are going to find out about it, because there is a stigma to this. There's a massive stigma. And whether the marketing puts the information out there is one thing, but it also has to be coupled with the knowledge that it will be confidential and we're not going to put it in the paper. Hey, sheriff did this just yesterday,
Right.
or
To be sure.
Oh.
I'll take Terry, then Brana.
I think that's critical. If you're gonna market the program, you're gonna market a program, or in some cases, in fact, many, as I heard earlier, you're gonna be marketing what all the other entities that we've supported are doing. And I don't see a way in which the media says we have in our area program A, B, C, D, and this is what they can do for you. You don't have to call up the marketing personnel and say, my name's Monica Hunt, and I want some help. You just go to that entity. You go to Parkside or wherever. And so, I don't think there's a big concern about their name being released, except Monica's. I'm gonna tell everybody about Monica.
We all know. Brana?
So following up on what Judge Morgan said, and then our presenter today, the point of not the confidentiality side, but more of the awareness side that you don't know when someone will be desperate enough to make that reach out. So having the information out there enough, so when the moment comes, they know where to go, to me, made an even bigger case for the need for marketing today. And your comment about what you heard directly from someone who's been there this week. Sarah. So he said their peer recovery coaches, they call, and they talk about your referee career, Terry. Until that moment when, because they've continued to build that relationship, when they actually have a need and they're ready to say, help me, they know where to turn. The marketing is almost the same way. They hear it, they hear it, they hear it, they hear it. And then when they need it, they actually know what to do. Not
many
when
are-
they need it, when they're willing to go ask or get the help.
How many have heard somebody say, hey, modern floors? Everybody in the room has, because it's marketing that sticks. So,
But as of, on the fact that we have one more in November,
right.
I mean, rescheduling people sounds difficult, but we'll
When it-
hear everyone by the end of them.
It's November 19th at 3:30 and
Our
it's
next,
state driver OUD campaigns and PSA campaigns. So it's very similar.
Mhm.
No, our next meeting's November 4th is the 2-hour meeting. And then
That's
the one, our regularly scheduled one is the 1 hour that it was the rescheduled that there's two. So there's,
on the 19th.
correct.
Well, I mean, I just sprung this on Francine today anyways. So this gives us some time to think about the logistics of this. Sarah?
One more thing, and hopefully I can get it out of this head of mine. Let's say we do start with marketing first. Are we not going to use some of the marketing to promote some of the programs that we will be supporting? So therefore, will we have enough infrastructure? Let's say the marketing is awesome and they get a lot of people. Will we have the services in place that they can actually help the people? It's just my question.
No, that's a fair question. Based on what I was hearing from the marketing people, they expressed to us repeatedly how flexible and nimble they are. And I think, because you're right, there'd be some existing services we may want to push people to, but then as that pool of services changes, then of course their messaging would grow across that spectrum of resources. So I'm not trying to complicate things, but I just then think about the one person looking for help that we haven't had a chance to meet because we haven't yet begun our rollout of the stuff. And this might not be January, February, something until we start to finalize some of these other things. So it's just a thought. But I think at bare minimum, we have to wait until the next presentation. Go ahead.
Can I just do a recap? November 4th is the 2 to 4 meeting. And November 19th is 3 to 4, our regularly scheduled.
I have another question, not to befuddle things. We've heard a lot of claims from everybody, and we have a choice of accepting what we've heard at face value. But secondly, I think there's a part of due diligence that would be vetting some of these claims. For instance, the sheriff asked this last presenter, is there a list of facilities that county-sized jails, I guess, that you're serving? I mean, does it behoove us to do some follow-up then with some of those people and see, hey, how has this actually worked out for you in real time? It seems to me with public resources, that's a component, but I'm not sure we've talked about that yet. I'd like to hear Francine's thoughts, your guys' thoughts on that.
Well, I can share with you during the vetting process to set up the appointments in the RFP, there was a lot of information that was submitted along with the RFP to do that. Anytime there was questions, many, which I have forwarded to you, all of those would answer. I would expect probably we're going to receive a lengthy email with all those connections and referrals. There was a couple months ago, someone asked for some details and those were sent with all of the data. So anything you asked for has been set out. So I don't think it'd be a problem to vet any of the questions, and most of the people have already followed up on that.
I mean, I'd love to talk to a jail and say, look, here's what's been pitched to us. What's your experience been there? I mean,
Yeah, I have a or a conference to go to with all the sheriffs in Michigan, and so that's why I asked that question, because if there's someone in Michigan, but conversely, I'm going to be asking them about other programs and other things and what they're doing. So, I'll be educating myself, and I'm sure my captain was feeding me questions, so he's already involved in it. So,
sure.
yeah, I mean, just human nature. I'm going to follow up on it just because I want to know whether or not this program that was just explained to me is something that we would want to bring forward to the commissioners and say, this is a very good program and here's why. Or conversely, no, it's not working because of these reasons.
Yeah, and we see people in general bring their best foot forward here, but I gotta say, the people I've been most convinced by are the ones who are the least polished and yet the most deep on their topic. But you know, we have to be smart enough to see through all those angles and judge on the right criteria. Terry?
Well, I think we basically have an obligation to vet these things at a further level, and without releasing any names, I had concerns about one particular presentation, and I contacted someone I knew who very much knew what was happening with that entity. It was most definitely in a position to know, and I laid out to this person, and this what do you think? And he said, no, absolutely not. They're not ready for it.
Yeah.
This person knew very well what was going on. So I think we have an obligation. If we do have a concern and we know of a resource we can go to ask those particular questions, that we have the obligation to do so.
I think so too. Good. Well, I know we got another group waiting to take our places here. Thank you again, everybody, for your, Gary, go ahead.
Well, you know, I'm hoping, I guess I'm hoping that we can continue. I mean, we're getting all these presentations, but I'd still like us to be proactive about thinking through where the need really is. You know, we may not be getting a presentation on an area that we need help with. You know, I'm concerned. I mean, we spent 9 months looking at recovery housing. And we all thought that was certainly a need, but we couldn't find a way to put it together and make it happen. You know, I hate to have something like that just drop off the table and not be, you know, a possibility that we can do something in that neighborhood.
So yeah, you're correct. I've thought about that too. What are the gaps in both our requests for proposals and what are the gaps in our understanding of the need? What are the gaps in the proposals that came? What if we have a good idea, but a vendor that we don't think that can execute it? You know, do we give up on that idea? Do we look at, I mean, these things are so, they just get more and more complicated. I kept praying that somehow we're going to get 4 easy answers out of all these presentations that everybody would agree on. And it's clear these problems are way too amorphous to solve like that. I told, I think, Tim after our last meeting, if we get this 80% right the first time, it'll be a blessing. I mean, these are difficult tasks. So, but I agree with that.
Well, and I have a dream as being a part of Kiwanis is I'd like to see us, you know, get behind some kind of a recovery program or something, just like the Riverview Terrace or what's the next, you know, big thing? Can we get behind it and
Sure.
make something happen? So I just, I mean, I think this is a monster project. I'm struggling. You know, it takes me many, many hours to study the material, and then I go for a month and don't study it, and I go brain dead, and I'm thinking, okay, where was I at? What do I got to do? And who's the ones I really want to support? And then, you know, I would like to see, you know, us becoming one of the best communities for any kind of support, you know, and can we be proactive about it? And hey, let's take a look at this. We aren't getting anybody coming to the table presenting such and such or whatever, you know, how can we get that on the table and talk about it? And I mean, the sheriff has, I'm sure he has a different perspective, and the judge, and all of you have different perspectives. You're seeing the community that I'm not seeing, you know, and I think it's just great if we can have you all be proactive and
Well, I think too, if you guys
Yeah.
are like me, you spend a lot of time drilling down into this stuff, then you come here and these 8 smart people ask just 1 or 2 questions and it deconstructs everything you spent a month putting together in your head. But that's the process. So, well, if there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you again.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
I
All opposed, same